shirt.
Welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider, Bill Ryder. Bill, we've done it. Tonight is the night Jimmy Butler returns to Miami. How excited are you?
I mean, I am excited because of the drama. I like the Heat organization. As you know, I covered that team. I live there. I know those folks. This is going to be, what is the equivalent? This is going to be your ex-wife or ex-husband who lost 20 pounds, married somebody better, coming back to your house for dinner. It's going to be so awful for the Heat and so great for Jimmy Butler.
I can't wait. We're going to discuss that later in the show and preview that. Also later in the show, the Lakers lost again. The Suns won again. Bill, this one's for you. Doc Rivers thinks he doesn't get enough credit for the wins and he gets too much credit for the losses. Oh, man, an all-timer by Doc Rivers. We'll discuss that, and we'll do Team of the Night. But first, Anthony Davis returned last night. The Mavs beat the Nets by 19. He hasn't played since February 8th. He had an adductor strain, Bill. He missed 18 games. They were 6-12 without him. Looked okay. Played 27 minutes, went for 12, 6-3. I think on the whole for the Mavs, this is happy news because they traded away their franchise star in exchange for Anthony Davis, who promptly got hurt. Producer Aaron asked us this yesterday. If you're Anthony Davis, why? Question mark.
If you're Dallas, why? I mean, what is the goal here? I mean, the thing is, everything we talk about with Dallas is going to be reasonable because you and I are talking about it. They are not a reasonably run organization, so we shouldn't pretend that they know what they're doing. But what is the point in playing this year if you're Anthony Davis? So don't you want to try to increase your odds of getting as high a pick as you? I did Tankathon today. I did it 17 times in a row.
Okay.
17.
Okay, how'd that work
Every time they got the 12th pick. Right now, they have a 1.3% chance of getting the top pick and a 6% chance of getting the top 4 pick. I don't think what happened in Dallas is going to work, right? I think we agree it was a poor. But maybe if you lose a bunch of games and you get lucky in the lottery and you jump up and draft, I don't know, someone to pair with AD and there's the Kyrie injury. I don't understand why they're chasing getting absolutely destroyed by the Thunder in the first round of the playoffs.
Let's take this from the Anthony Davis side for just a second. Mark Stein reported that Anthony Davis always wanted to come back, that he didn't consider shutting it down even after Kyrie was lost for the season, that for him, it's kind of like, and I'm paraphrasing Stein's reporting, but the gist was that this is sort of a point of pride, that he's not stupid and he hears everything that's happening. And he realizes that the reaction was, oh, wow, the Lakers didn't get enough for Luka Doncic. And Anthony Davis, who was a multi-time Olympian, a top 75 player of all time, a NBA champion, perennial or one of the perennial all NBA team selections. He was on all NBA last year. He looks at it and goes, well, wait a minute, I'm pretty good. And I want to show don't forget in his first game with the Mavs, when he was telling everybody I'm here now to the crowd. I think that this is one of those things where Anthony Davis wants to go and play and show everybody that he's really good. Now, to your point, I don't know that Anthony Davis, even playing at top peak Anthony Davis level, gets the Mavs anywhere this season.
Pride cometh before the other injury, I believe, is the biblical,
I think that's how it goes. Yeah.
Line. I get it. And where Anthony Davis is coming from that perspective, and that's clear, right? His game that he played for the Mavericks, where he played for 12 seconds. Well, not I'm him. It's like I'm here or whatever it was. He was trying to fire up that Mavericks crowd and be the guy. And he's prideful. He's talented. The problem for Anthony Davis is I understand what he's saying. He just got traded for one of the only people on earth where you look at the trade and you go, oh my God, they only got Anthony Davis, right? It just speaks to how bad the trade. It's not a reflection on AD. It's not a reflection on how great a player he is. It's not a reflection on if he's healthy, what his ceiling can be. It's a reflection on the debacle that is the Dallas Mavericks front office now. So I understand Anthony Davis's response, but and I don't know his physical situation, but like the guy's hurt all the time. I know not as much the last few years, but he's hurt all the time. You're not playing for anything now. And if you're Anthony Davis, John, I think, and you want to prove to the world that you're all the things you just said and all the things you just said are worthwhile, even in light of who he got traded for, just be healthy next year and do it next year, man. Like, just
You
make
know,
sure you're right next year.
what's the best case scenario here for him and the Mavs? Right, the best case scenario is, well, for him is that he plays really well and they somehow get the 10 seed and then they somehow get out of the play-in and then they run smack dab into the Oklahoma City Thunder and they get rolled in 4. Maybe they get a single game. I don't know. Right now they're tied with the Suns on record. They're in 11th. I think it's the bigger question is what they do with AD during the offseason and what he wants to do. Do they try to trade Anthony Davis or do they double down on this thing and try to acquire Kevin Durant? Anthony Davis is owed $58 million over the next 3 seasons. If you're if you're Nico Harrison, I'm sure that you're not going to want to move on from AD. I'm sure that you're going to want Kyrie to come back whenever he can and to add another piece and to prove everybody wrong. And maybe Anthony Davis wants that too. But if I was him, I would look around and go, ooh, this is not a great situation right now.
Can I Doc Rivers this thing? Can I give you like the delusional positive perspective that makes me sound stupid? But I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to Doc Rivers this thing. I know we'll do the Doc. Maybe the best case scenario is that you get that 10th spot. You force out Phoenix. You solidify what we already know, which is Kevin Durant's not going to be a Sun next year. You win both of your playing games. Anthony Davis somehow carries Dallas to make it 5 or 6 game series and a loss to the Thunder and scores, has 50, 20, and 10. And Kevin Durant goes, okay, all right, like maybe Dallas is a place I'll go. Those things aren't happening, but that is the best case scenario. It's the only case scenario where things can end up okay.
I mean, he is tight with Kyrie. And Kyrie will be back ostensibly at some point, right? ACLs aren't what they used to be. It's not a great injury to have, but it's not going to keep you out it's not an Achilles. So in theory, he'll be back next season in time for them to do something. Who knows how much time he'll miss, but yeah, I guess that's like a squint and tilt your head and a Daryl Morey. Yeah. If you squint at it hard enough, but man, yeah, that's a tough situation for the Mavs, but he's back. He came back last night and he didn't look bad. All right. 2 other things that happened last night that I wanted to run past you, Bill. 2 teams headed in at least in the short term in opposite directions. You had the Lakers in another loss and the Suns in another win. Which one do you want to do first? You want to do Lakers or Suns?
Let's go positive first, right? Should we like put some good karma in the universe?
Let's do some good karma. All right. So the Bucks and the Suns played last night. No Dame for the Bucks. Giannis looked awesome. The Suns ended up winning this game by 2 on a Booker game winner. Kevin Durant has been incredible over the last 2 games. He's scored a combined 80 points. Bill, they've won 4 in a row. It's their longest winning streak since November. They've also now won 6 in a row at home. Booker and KD after the game were like hyping up the crowd and the crowd was going crazy. And like all of a sudden, Matt Ishbia is sitting somewhere going, I told you so.
I mean, they're 5.5 games out of the 8 spot, which is the only thing that would even remotely allow me to, like I just did with AD, pretend that there's an up. Whoever plays the Thunder in the first round of the playoffs is almost certainly getting destroyed, right?
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Way to go. I mean, I guess the thing is there's no salvaging this because Kevin Durant's almost certainly not going to be a Sun next year. They are totally screwed based on their decision making. We'll see what they can flip KD for if that's the move they make. This feels like one of those, doesn't matter what happens down the stretch, this version of the Suns is over.
But it's a nice story. Conversation and celebration was like pumped right from the veins of Matt Ishbia or from the brain of Matt Ishbia. It was
corny.
We're playing great. And this is what we've been trying to figure out. And now that, like everybody doubted us and that whole bit. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I was thinking like you, I was like, well, the whole season counts and your record isn't great. And like your best case scenario right now is that you get the 10 seed and then what? You also get stomped by Oklahoma City. And by the way, they have the hardest remaining strength of schedule. Now, the one not so much weird silver lining is like the kind of fell backwards into this here, Bill, is I haven't had Bradley Beal recently for this. Not surprisingly, over the last 4 games that they've won, no Bradley Beal for all 4 of those games. He's been out with a hamstring injury. And our guy Sam Quinn pointed this out. They have a plus 3.9 net rating with him off the floor, and they're 14-10 this season when he's out. So it's like all of a sudden
he's a new Julius Randle.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it really is an addition by subtraction thing with him when, it's not just his contract. It's kind of like, oh man, like he does suck up usage and he does suck up shots. And maybe it is as simple as, hey, just let Booker and KD cook and like keep Bradley Beal out of the way for a little bit.
Do they have it in them to just not play Bradley Beal? They don't. And it's too
We're
late.
paying
Again,
them, it's too much
it
money,
doesn't matter.
right?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, yes. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what you're paying somebody. If they're a net negative, you don't play the person. And maybe you also, like, here's the other thing. He has a no trade clause. Maybe not playing him down. Again, I'm just in a really weirdly positive, optimistic mood. Does that maybe convince the guy I should be somewhere else? If he doesn't get minutes, would he be willing to go? Not that anybody wants him, but part of the problem here is you can't get rid of him.
Yeah.
You're stuck with this guy.
One more thing from the delusional post game from last night. So the announcers for the Suns were talking about how basically for the last however many games and for the rest of the regular season, this is playoff basketball for the Suns. And if the Suns can get into the play-in, they will have been playoff tested before the play-in even begins. Bill, are you buying any of that?
I mean, you know what? If they could play the Rockets, right, or somebody else in the first round, if it wasn't the Thunder, I think I would actually entertain us having a long shot, though, would be conversation about, all right, Booker plus Durant and some good vibes, and they're trending in the right direction. Can they build some momentum and maybe get to the version of the Suns, at least a better version of the Suns that's not a total mess? But none of it is meaningful if, like most of us, you think the Thunder are so good that it's not even a contest. So I could buy it if they were fighting to be the 8th seed. They're just not, there's no time for that. So no, I'm not. Even if, like, I think they are playing well and there's something to, like, the good vibes, it doesn't matter because they're not good enough that you're going to have a chance against the Thunder. And you're, at best, you are locked into. You have to win 2 playing games, which, by the way, very likely won't do. They're the Suns. They'll revert back to what they actually are. But even if they do, your reward is to go play the Thunder when you were supposed to be the Thunder. You thought you were going to be the team that was one of the best in the Western Conference. No, now none of this matters.
The propaganda machine is in full swing because they also mentioned the vibes, and they're like, the vibes are so good right now. I'm like, isn't this the team where they were going to trade Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant wasn't exactly thrilled about it? And oh, by the way, Booker and Bud didn't get along and like got into some spat that ended up in, this is the same team. The vibes are great though, but they're winning basketball games. We're going to take a quick break. And then on the other side, we'll discuss the team that they played last night and beat the Bucks. Doc had some interesting things to say. And then the Lakers. All right, if the Suns are winning and we don't buy it, are we at all concerned about the Lakers losing their last 3? We'll discuss that. That's coming up. This is Beyond the Arc.
Guys, can you feel it? Legends were born here. History was made here. These are hallowed grounds.
Hallowed grounds?
The NCIS squad room?
Well, I wasn't talking about that, but I was talking about Augusta National.
All right. It's finally time for the Masters.
I hear it's a tradition unlike any other.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please download, subscribe, leave a review, and on Spotify, if you look below the play button on the Spotify app in full screen mode, you can leave us a comment about the show. Lakers, Bill, anti-Suns right now. They've lost 3 in a row. Lost to the Magic last night in Orlando. That's not a team that you really want to lose to by 12. They gave up 118 points to the Magic team that you have pointed out, rightly so, for the last 2 years. That is an offensively challenged team. They are now 4th. They're tied with the Grizzlies on record. They're 1 game behind the Nugs. Even though they've lost these 3 games in a row, they're still in that like 2, 3, 4, 5 jumble car mashup. Yesterday, we weren't concerned about the Lakers. Are we concerned today?
I'm again more concerned. So interestingly, and you would flag this, that Lakers defense had been good for a long time. If you just go January 1st, right, this year, 2025, they were the 3rd best defense up until LeBron went down with that groin injury that he's obviously returned from. With LeBron gone for that stretch of games, they fell to 20th in defensive rating without LeBron. And he's back, and you sort of chalk off that Chicago embarrassment to it's the first game. But whatever sort of magic, whatever alchemy there was in LeBron being a part of the team and being great defensively, to have these defensive performances against the Bulls and the Magic, I don't really know what to make of it. It's weird. Yeah, John, I think you're a little worried because part of the reason the Lakers suddenly look like a contender is because they were outstanding defensively. They had found a way to be an outstanding defensive team, and then you throw Luka in the mix and you say with LeBron, like, okay, there's a ceiling here. If that was just a weird run of game, I don't know what to make of the last couple of games. It's been bizarre.
It is bizarre. And I guess my concern is that they had everybody back for the last 2. Rui came back after missing 12 games. And I think that when I was watching them and I was watching the rotations, JJ has not been shy about trying new things all season long, but I think everybody comes back and these last couple of games haven't exactly been clean for the team. And I'm watching his rotations and who he's starting and who's got off the bench. And I think he's trying to figure it out right now too, because last night they brought Rui off the bench. And again, he came back after 12 games, after the last game, right? So it's a second for him to knock off some rust. Maybe that's not a big deal, but you've got Dorian Finney-Smith in the starting lineup. And then to your defensive point, Vando only played 12 minutes last night. And I'm like, okay, you gave up 118 points to the Magic. Like, couldn't you really use your best defenders out on the floor a little bit more? Maybe they were struggling to find offense. Like right now it looks clunky. It looks clunky and it doesn't look like they know how to unclunk it.
Do you buy the idea that guys are just tired? Because someone suggested that to me
Maybe.
when I was talking to a day or two ago and just pointed out Cleveland in a bit of a lull. Most of the teams in the Western Conference who matter other than Phoenix and the Thunder, a bit of a lull or been okay. The Warriors have come back to earth a little bit. Maybe it's just sort of running out of steam thing.
It's end of March, right? I mean, like we talk about this or, on previous things that I've done, I've discussed like, this is like that weird doldrum period. Sometimes people call it the silly season because you get rookies and younger players who are putting up monster stats on tanking teams or whatever. But yeah, I think that there's some fatigue there too for veterans on good teams who know they're going to be in the playoffs. It's hard to get up in the end of March where you're just like, all right, we just have to get to the end of the regular season. And then it's the postseason time. And then everybody's kind of like rejuvenated and reinvigorated and like, off you go. Yeah, I think there's something to that.
The other interesting thing about the Lakers is I'd rather be 6 than be 4 or 5. I mean, I'd obviously rather be 3 or 2.
Yeah, 2 or 3 or 6. Yeah.
But you fall to 4 or 5, and if you advance, you're playing the Thunder in the second round.
Yeah, because you're going to have a hard matchup in the first round regardless. I'd rather not have Oklahoma City in the second.
That'll be true. Yeah, either way. By the way, I know we've hit this. The first round matchups in the Western Conference are going to be awesome. All of them.
Yes.
But they're going to be interesting.
I can't wait for that. And to that point, as producer Aaron points out, so Lakers are 2 up on the Warriors, the 3 up on the Clips. They have the 4th hardest remaining strength of schedule. Clippers, 13th hardest schedule, and Warriors are right in the middle of the pack at 15th. Are we at all worried, or should the Lakers be at all worried about slipping out of the playoffs proper and into the play-in?
I mean, it's interesting.
They're still in. I think no, because they lost 3 in a row and they're still in the mix. But yes, those other teams have an easier road, and we'll see what happens. Tonight do
they have the Clippers? Do they play the Clippers again? Is there like an opportunity for the Clippers?
That's a good question. We'll effort that on whether or not they have the Warriors and the Clippers coming up. While we wait on that, we mentioned the Bucks played the Suns last night. They lost. They didn't have Dame Lillard. The Lakers and Warriors play April 3rd. Okay. Mark that on our calendar, and they do not play the Clippers. So there you go. All right. So last night, Bill, I'm watching the Bucks Suns game. Before the Bucks Suns game, I don't know why this materialized, but this is something that has been percolating over the last however many years where Doc Rivers gets crushed for blowing multiple 3-1 series leads in the playoffs. He's done it 3 times. No other coach has done it more than once. And Doc takes a lot of heat for that. So Mark Spears, who's an excellent reporter, was talking to Doc about this. And the quote is something that I think Doc, it's the points that he makes here are not new, but it bears repeating because Doc has decided to trot this out yet again. And I just thought of you when I read it, and it's really great. So
unbelievable.
About blowing the 3-1 lead, 3-1 leads. Here's what Doc said. No one tells a real story, and I'm fine with that. It's unfair in some ways. I love that he says he's fine with it. And then the very next sentence, he says it's unfair. I don't get enough credit for getting 3 wins. I get credit for losing. I always say, what if we had just lost to Houston in 6? No one would care. One of the things that I'm proud of is we've never been swept. All the coaches have been swept in the playoffs. My teams achieve. A lot of them overachieve, and I'm very proud of that. Bill, a lot to unpack here, up to and including, hey, what if we had just lost sooner? But I really enjoy he doesn't get enough credit for getting 3 wins. Yeah. He gets too much credit for the 4 losses, or too much blame.
I've already used up all of my rage and bandwidth on the radio show from this. I mean, I lost my mind for like 17 minutes of radio hour this morning. Just
so good.
Can I just point out, though, as rationally as I can, in all the ways this is ludicrous, in all the ways this is absurd. And you noted that no one's done it more than once. There's only been 13 in the history of the NBA where a team has been up 3-1 and lost. Doc has 3 of them. He has 24% of them.
Uh-huh.
1 out of every 4. The playoff, and he cites Orlando, right? But it was a little different with the Clippers teams that you have, and especially when you were up 3-1 against Houston. You should have closed that thing. The playoffs are about many things, but one of the interesting things is about the adjustments. And there are ample people, smart people, who believe and will tell you that coaching becomes much more significant in the playoffs than in the regular season, because in the regular season, you don't have as much time to watch tape. Whatever you watch tape on the Grizzlies, cool. A night later, you're playing the Heat or whatever it is. That's not true in the playoffs, which means that Doc Rivers gets up all the time and then gets out-coached by whoever he's playing or under-coaches. So he's telling on himself, he just doesn't know it. You don't get credit for the 3 wins, dude. The fact you got there is in part because your teams were better, other than the Orlando example, and the reason you lost is because you get out-coached down the stretch. Like, you want credit for 3 wins?
This is such a classic of the Doc genre that he is saying, like, okay, I'm going to revisit this topic and I'm going to say I'm fine with it. And then the very next sentence, he says it's unfair. He's okay with it, but it's totally unfair. And then for him to say his teams achieve, I mean, he hasn't been out of the second round in absolutely forever. He has 1 championship. There's no doubt about it. But I think that
50 years ago,
he's obviously very, very sensitive about this. Now, I want to play devil's advocate for just a second here. He has longevity, right? I mean, his teams are relative.
Come on, dude.
They make the playoffs. I mean, is there anything to that like they're in the mix?
He was an advisor to the former coach Adrian Griffin, and his advice was hire me instead. And now the Bucks are underachieving. By the way, when Griffin got fired, they had the best offense in the NBA. Their defense was not good.
Yeah.
Now they're just basic. They're battling the Pistons and the Pacers to be the 4 seed, and there's a really good chance Giannis is going to leave.
Yeah.
Like that, at least there's a really good chance that that's going to happen. You don't get any credit. You should know he came into your Sixers team.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
I'm just laughing about it's just so Doc being Doc. This is how bad this comment is. That producer Aaron is in our chat right now pointing out that Steve Kerr has never been swept and that 4-2 is the Warriors' worst playoff loss. This is producer Aaron, famously not a fan of Steve Kerr, riding to the defense of Steve Kerr in light of Doc Rivers saying these things. Last thing I want to say about Doc, and then we'll take a break. This weekend, before this whole thing happened, I was out watching college basketball with a friend of mine who also is an NBA. I didn't go to Cosm. I wish I had. I went to a sports bar on the West Side with some friends, and one of my buddies also is an NBA talker like us. And so I don't even know how we got onto the topic of Doc, but I mentioned that for all of Doc's faults, he is a first ballot Hall of Fame content provider. And then this comes out, and I'm like, and it drove my buddy nuts because he's like, that doesn't matter and whatever. And I'm like, it kind of does matter though, at least for our purposes, right? Because there are people who listen to our show, watch our show. We talk about this thing. I mean, like the NBA isn't just about the basketball. It is also frequently about storylines. So I just want to thank Doc Rivers for being Doc Rivers. And I hope he never changes because now he's not coaching the Sixers anymore.
He's an amazing content provider. I mean, if it's a slow news day, he'll just find someone to throw under the bus as publicly as possible to give it. You're 100%. You're 100% right. And for that reason, thank you, Doc. You're the best.
Thank you, Doc. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And then on the other side, speaking of entertainment and storylines, we got a doozy tonight. Jimmy Butler returns to Miami. We'll discuss that and preview it coming up. This is Beyond the Arc.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Welcome back to Beyond the Arc. You can find us on YouTube at Beyond the Arc CBS. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell symbol. You'll get notified when we go live. Guess what? We're going live tonight right after Golden State Warriors at the Miami Heat. Should wrap up about 7 o'clock Eastern. So come and join us on YouTube for post-game reaction and everything that happens in that with Jimmy returning to Miami. Bill, what are we expecting tonight? I mean, Jimmy said it's just another game. Obviously, that's like the rote response the players say. It's not another game. This is going to be something.
I'm expecting 36, 14, and 9.
How many
Jimmy
curse
Butler.
words? How many middle fingers?
What I do want to know is how physical are the Heat toward him. I'm really curious to see how they. So since the trade, the Heat are 5-17.
Yes.
The Warriors are 16-5. So what I'm actually expecting is a humiliation for Miami. Whatever happens in the game, this is just going to be the homecoming of your ex who went off to a better life, and everything fell apart for you when he went away. And it's unfair because Jimmy Butler didn't conduct himself, I think it's fair to say, from a distance in a professional way, knowing some of the things I know, and everybody knows behind the scenes, didn't make life easy, but he won. I mean, it isn't.
Yeah, he did.
They say it's how you leave. It's actually where you go. It's Sinatra's thing. The best revenge is massive success. The Heat didn't get it. The Warriors might. What I expect is for this to be a really brutal reminder for Miami that they got the raw end of the deal and they didn't really have control over it.
We've all heard the legend of Jimmy Butler forcing his way out of Minnesota in that practice facility when Jeff Teague tells an amazing story. I encourage everybody to go and look it up on YouTube. But Jeff Teague tells a story about how Jimmy came in and he said, I've got the B team and you guys, we're going to play against the starters. And he just like humiliated Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins and Jeff Teague. And he was MFing the general manager and the coach. And he just was at it. And then all of a sudden he popped up on CNN to do a story, or ESPN. I forget where Rachel Nichols was at the time, but to do a story with Rachel Nichols about the whole thing. I expect tonight to be the live action version of that is going to be broadcast. And then we're going to see this where he's just going to be going up and down the floor, just absolutely dominating the Heat. Now, that said, Bill, you bring up a really good point. When he was in Miami, he did really yeoman's work. I mean, they were the 5 seed in 2020 and went to the finals. They came out of the play-in 2 years later and went to the finals. He took a Miami Heat team twice to the finals that really had no business doing it. Now, he was asked about this, and he was asked, hey, Jimmy, like, what was your time like in Miami? Kind of achieved some stuff, right? He didn't exactly agree with that. Here's what he said.
Not really. It don't make me no difference. I'm a member of the Golden State Warriors. I love that fan base. They showed me a lot of love while I was there. But I'm there to win now. I'm on the opposing team.
When you look back at your career in Miami, how would you categorize what the team was able to do out there?
We was all right. We didn't win nothing like we were supposed to. So, I don't know. We made some cool runs. We had some fun. I think that's all we did.
That's all they did, Bill. Second place is just the first loser. I love the way he's doing this. I mean, I guess so.
He's kind of wrong.
I think that if you got Jimmy in another mood, not going back to Miami, he'd be like, yeah, look what I did with that team that had no business coming out of the East. And especially in the year where we came all the way from the play-in, that was because of me. And as you pointed out, the second that dude leaves, the wheels come off. They've lost 9 of their last 10. 5 out of 22 games they've won since he left. I mean, look, Bam Adebayo has been available for all but 1 of those games since he left. Tyler Hero has been available for all but 2 of those games since he left. Tyler Hero is supposed to be the new guy, and Bam Adebayo was just on the Olympic team and is going to be all defense, and he's not going to make all NBA, but he's an all-star. Like, those are good players, but clearly not enough.
Is Jimmy Butler a Hall of Famer? I was just thinking about that.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think probably yes.
What does he go in as? Nothing? The first player to ever go in.
He'll have Big Face Coffee on his jersey. Yeah, I mean,
no man. Producer says no man.
I'll have to look at the Basketball Reference probability on the Hall of Fame thing. Just off the top of my head, it's yes. But I also thought like Drew Holiday should be a Hall of Famer, and his odds on the Basketball Reference tracker are like next to none.
Jimmy for me be the low end of the scale. But I think my first instinct is I would have a higher bar. We've had right. It's all been Jimmy the last. It looks like it's all been Jimmy the last 5 years. And you noted the 2 finals appearances. They also made a 3rd conference finals appearance where they didn't get through. I mean, they had a really good run, and at least now
he wins wherever he goes. I mean,
and then he blows it out. Turns ugly. Yeah, it turns toxic.
Yeah, but he does win. So the Heat have said that they will be giving Jimmy a video tribute tonight, Bill. There's been some question about when it would occur, what would be in it, whether or not there'd be some gamesmanship here. Does he deserve it? And also, what kind of reaction do you think he gets from the crowd?
I think he does deserve it. I think he'll be booed by the crowd. Although it's Miami, so it's kind of
Miami.
just
Will
yeah.
anybody be there to boo initially?
Maybe
They'll have to
no.
wait. The crowd's late
Nope.
arriving, famously.
Nobody shows up to the second quarter. They'll be They'll be like the thing is you'll be able to hear the 4 people who do boo because no one else will be there. I'm also really curious what his interactions are like with Spoelstra. Like, what does that look like after the game?
I mean, Spo
I think it's
said
going to
all
be
the
weird
right
and
things.
awkward.
Yeah, Spo said all the right things. I think that if there's any ill will left over, residual ill will, it's between him and Pat Riley. Although, I was saying, like, whatever's in the tribute video, it would be really awesome if it was like Jimmy Butler just acting up, just like a bunch of moments where he was angry about stuff. Remember, was it last year or 2 years ago when he was screaming at Spo on the sideline and Udonis Haslem had to separate them, and then he was screaming at Udonis and Udonis started. I was like, oh man, you don't want any part of the Udonis.
Udonis is a real talk. He's the real one.
But wouldn't it be amazing if that stuff was in the tribute video? Like, give me a little spice here.
It's a great call. The problem is the Heat are too classy. That's what Ishbia will do someday.
It would be so fun. If it was the video of Jimmy after he missed the playoffs last year, where he was at whatever Miami sports event, where he said, if I had played, we would have beaten the Celtics. Put that in there, please. That would be amazing.
That should be the tribute video. It should just be that.
Play that video again. It would be fantastic. Producer Aaron says that he has, according to Basketball Reference, a 73% chance, just under 73, a tick under, to make the Hall of Fame, which I think is about right. I mean, like,
sounds right.
He probably should make it. All right, let's do, what are you doing? Team of the night, wrap this thing up?
Yeah. Do you want to guess mine? I'm going with my favorite. Give me the Pacers, baby.
Okay.
Give me the Miles Turner's playing some defense and blocking some shots. Indiana, I'm not sure how much I actually believe in their ceiling, but I think there is
5 in a row.
Yeah, they're playing good. Timberwolves that's a pretty nice win, right? That's a team that had been hot, playing for something.
Halliburton's been playing well.
He looks good. They all look good. They're playing good basketball.
Professional basketball team, 6th time for the Pacers, winning team of the night. They are exactly what I said. What Ishbia thought that he has in the Suns, and a tough out and like a good basketball team that won't be easily dismissed. That's actually what the Pacers are. I got a couple of different candidates here. I'll go through the ones that I'm not going to pick first. We're going to go, the Sixers had a really good loss last night. 5 losses in a row in Tank Wars. They lost to the Pelicans team that is absolutely decimated. Bill, they figured out a way to lose to a Pelicans team that's the hospital Pelicans by 23 points. Amazing stuff. They are now tied with the Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. They're 2 games worse than the Toronto Raptors. That's how you tank, Bill. And then also, as we mentioned, the Suns have won 4 in a row. KD and Booker are playing really well. Bill, I'm going to take a team that, as of last week, did not have a single appearance as team of the night. Now they do. Give me the Bulls. They've won 3 in a row. They won again last night. They beat the Nuggets without Joker. Bill, they've won 8 of their last 10 games. Our guy, Sam Quinn, he writes all kinds of stuff. I recommend everybody check him out on cbssports.com. One of the things he just wrote about, like playoff odds and things of that nature, Bill, was about the Bulls. And in his little gambling advice, he was like, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but like the Bulls are kind of oddly fun to watch. And I was like, Sam, welcome.
You do go deep into the ugly teams that you love. The Magic. I cannot.
You know what? You would like the Bulls though, because their offense is like Kobe White is just like a bucket.
Yeah, Kobe White's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And by the way, like they are like an interesting watch. It's hard this time of year for me to watch teams. That's why I love your Tank War thing. I can't do it. I need to be watching what feels like meaningful basketball, like the game. A meaningful basketball team. My experience of all of this is informed by my experience in Philadelphia, and I'm obviously broken when it comes to basketball. But I was thinking about this last night when I was checking out the Sixers score and rooting obviously for the opposite of what most normal, well-adjusted humans root for, which is for their team to score points and win games. And I was like, man, that's a great job by them of like taking terrible shots or too early in the clock, or like not boxing out and rebounding or whatever. I think that my more comfortable default position is tanking teams. I enjoy it. There's no pressure. It's just like low stakes. Can you get under the limbo bar? Like you don't have to achieve anything but getting lottery balls. And then it's just about promise and the future. And you just push off any actual expectations. I wonder if it's because you went through the process and deep down, that's what you associate with as hope. and
Yeah,
belief
well,
and
I
happiness.
think I told you, like, the actual basketball season during those years didn't matter. I mean, I covered all those games. The games were terrible, but the real season was the off season. That's when stuff happened. That's when all of a sudden you're moving around draft picks, you're drafting players, you're trading, you're making moves. You're watching kids. You know, I love summer league. That stuff to me is quite entertaining. And again, there's no pressure to it. You don't have to pretend like Joel Embiid
You
and
love
Paul
summer
George
league.
and Tyrese Maxey are going to win the Eastern Conference. No, thank you.
We got to start saving your summer league clips to play this time of year. I can't even remember which guys last year. This guy could be good.
Reed Shepherd. I was really in on Reed Shepherd. I was really in on Zach Edey. We'll see who the new guys are this summer. All right. Alex Sarr. Right. Yeah. Alex Sarr went 0-for-17. I was big on him too. All right. We're going to take, that's going to be it for us tonight. Today rather. We are going to be back tonight though, because as we mentioned, Jimmy Butler back in Miami, Steph Curry, he could be back tonight. We're going to get some Warriors basketball in Miami, all kinds of drama. Come and join us live on YouTube after the game. It should be right around 7 p.m. Eastern. As I mentioned, if you go to our YouTube page at Beyond the Arc CBS and you click on that little bell symbol, you'll get notified the second we go live, and then you can come join us. But for now, for our NBA insider Bill Ryder, I'm John Gonzalez. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you tonight.